The following program contains scenes and language of a frank and explicit nature. Discretion is advised.
All right, welcome to Rare Form Radio. I am one of your many hosts of the evening, Todd. Dan, how are you?
I'm good, buddy. How you doing?
Good. Today we have a very special guest, as most of you I'm sure can see. This handsome, almost smooth as a baby's bottom, is how you're coming across the screen to me. A good friend of the show, Riley Perez.
Welcome back, sir. Welcome back.
Riley, how you doing?
I'm good. I didn't know if this was going to be a nude thing because we're at our own homes, but I decided to go topless. I got bottoms on, though.
You do have bottoms. Well, I think one of the goals for me, and I know Dan for sure, and I'm sure the vast amount of fans that we have, the 3 or 4 people that are watching right now, we're going to want you to get to lose those bottoms also at some point in the show. So just know that that's coming.
I'll share my Venmo info then.
All right, perfect.
To tease people, we want to give them the full show, you know.
Right.
We want to give them the Riley Perez experience in full.
3D next year.
This is what it would be like if you were Riley's cellmate. Now I'm starting to see how this whole thing went down.
You see the seduction.
Yeah, Riley, let me ask you this, because I'm sure that you have plenty of opinions. What do you think with what's going on in the world today?
Oh, you mean with the Raiders moving to Las Vegas?
Exactly what I mean.
I'll give you this quick story so you can understand my perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So the first day of the rioting, looting here in LA, I'm coming back from Malibu with my dog, going down Beverly, and I drive a little Prius, and as soon as I look up, a mob starts coming down all 4 lanes of traffic. They've taken it over. Cars can't go anywhere. So a couple folks in the crowd are screaming, "Get out the way!" You know, like I can just pick up my car and put it in my back pocket like it's a wallet. So a couple people, as they pass, like every 100 persons in the mob, scream out something, and the next minute, some kid starts banging hard on the back of my trunk. I look in the rear view. I see it's a little redhead dude. You know, kind of look like he might be an aborted kid of dance.
The worst. Did he have lips? Did he have any lips?
Very thin, very thin.
There you go.
So I threw the car in reverse and smashed the shit out of him, right? I put it in park, and I hop out with my knife ready to gut his ass. And a young black guy, he looked to be like one of the few real organizers in whatever was going on. He just happened to be near me when all this happened. He had a little bullhorn backpack with like treats and a fire extinguisher. And he says, bro, just get back in the car. I'll clear the way for you. And I look at him like, yeah, cool. I mean, I'm cool with gutting this guy though, you know? So he clears the way. I get back in the car. He's like, hey, I'm glad you got out safety. I'm like, well, I was okay with the alternative.
Right.
Yeah. But he goes, yeah, man, some people just really forgot what this is all about. So, there's a lot of folks, and for every 100 persons that passed me in that whole protest, I'd see 4 or 5 black people. Really, I saw 2 different folks that were not together that may have been over 35.
Right.
And from what I've seen after that, it just seems to be a lot of folks who want to say they were there, they were a part of it. Because in the range of folks I've spoken with after, who were all ginned up, ready to fight the power, they think they're in a revolution. After it's all said and done, now what? What's the action on your part? What are you doing with what you have in control to move the ball forward? If it's just hashtagging, posting, uh, falling into the group Black Lives Matter, all of the various, uh, I guess, rules they have on you as a white person, how you can be a part of things. If you wanted to follow along, then cool. If it if it works for you, great. My thing to anybody I speak with it is, first thing is just don't be a dick. It ain't hard to not be a dick.
Right.
And then all the rest, I'll never know what's fully in your thoughts. Your actions is what's going to speak volumes. So let's end racism. Well, that's like another Santa Claus wish list. It's never going to happen. So let's go to something more, something that's more attainable.
Right. And so, okay, so with all that, because I definitely hear what you're saying. And, I've been doing a lot of stuff where it's like one day I see someone say something and I'm like, yeah, good point. And then I hear someone say something on the other side and I'm like, yeah, good point. And I'm flip flopping, because there's so much fucking opinion and bullshit out there. And the one thing that I keep coming to is like, you know, the white people should just shut the fuck up for a minute and take the cue of what they're told they should do. Do you understand what I'm saying by that?
Um, I think if whoever's going to be involved, then they got to have a voice. So I don't agree.
Okay.
I know it's not. A lot of folks are being shouted down.
Mhm.
So you're changing one supposed oppressed group for another, and that
Mhm.
if you go that route, um, I think this, in my opinion, having lived through the '90s, '92 riot, having
Mhm.
understood what that was about, uh, having seen how this popped up, this is this was ignited based on George Floyd's death.
Mhm.
I think this is one situation where universally it's been condemned. There's no one that in any way that's tried. You haven't even seen a Klans member or David Duke come out and say, good
Right.
job. This is one thing that universally has been condemned. And yet with that, uh, you still had folks take advantage of it versus seizing on the opportunity where everyone agrees this was wrong and focusing on legitimate reforms and changes in that particular police department and all throughout the nation. Um, LAPD, okay, LAPD is not today is not what it used to be, even of the early 2000s. Where they would really fuck your shit off. The '90s, at the tail end of the height of the gang wars, where they would really fuck your shit off because they were in the midst of a war.
Mhm.
80s, whole nother story because this was the whole city was on fire with dead bodies getting dropped. So LAPD is not what it used to be, and where it stands today is in large part due to all of the reforms from previous decades of crazy rogue cops. And it's not like all of a sudden, yeah, we're all perfect and we could go on. It's a constant reform citizen committees that oversight committees at various levels. But I can say, from the organizations I work with that have engagement with LAPD and the youth throughout the city, uh, the abolished police. Yeah, that sounds fucking crazy. Figure out if you want to be the hawk or the dove in that situation because there's plenty of criminals waiting for uh, any type of cuts to police staff.
Right. Okay. So I'm glad you brought that up actually, because you and I had a conversation about this already, Dan. I don't think people on the whole, in the overall, really understand what defunding police actually means.
Right.
And I think that they're under the impression that means get rid of police. Don't give them money to exist as an organization.
Which is
And
not happening. It's not.
yeah, which first of all is
Right.
not going to happen. And second of all, that's
Right.
not what they're talking about. What they're talking about is reappropriating those funds to go to organizations like helping the homeless and dealing with mentally ill and all those things that police have to deal with, so that they're not trained to deal with that shit. Police officers is what my understanding is. They're taught to procedurally fight crime, so to speak. So
Right.
what they mean when they're saying defund the police, and correct me if I'm wrong, is to take away a bunch of the money that they're throwing at them or giving to them to take care of the city with jobs that they're not necessarily trained for, and letting professional organizations deal with that side of stuff so that they can focus on what they're paid to do and what they're hired to do, which is to serve and protect, to fight crime, so to speak.
Yeah,
So
I could see that, and it's going to look different for each municipality.
yeah, of
You
course,
know,
but I think that that's where the mistake of using even the word defund
defund, right?
is completely misrepresentative of what it actually means.
Yeah, in a conversation I've had with a couple guys online, various socioeconomic status and uh, jobs that they are involved in, and there needs to be more counselors in the schools dealing with the youth. All right, well, you can still have the cops that are uh, school police. uh, I think it would be best if even in the communities where there are cops whom are trained as counselors, that way you have youth the first time they come in contact with law enforcement, it's not in an adversarial way. It's
Right.
in a, I know Todd from, he's such and such officer, his partner is No Lip Dan, Officer Dan, right? So we know these guys, and it's not because they're, running us down, hopping over fences. It's because, I can go to him with
You've
with
grown
an
up
issue.
with them. You've
Yeah,
grown up with them in a sense. Now, one
yeah.
thing that I do want to footnote there is that when Dan would approach someone as an officer, he doesn't cover his badge so that they can't get the number. He covers his
He covers
lips
his lips.
so that they
They
can't
know.
so that they can't rat him out.
I'm gonna both up so bad.
From the comfort of your home in Silver Lake, right?
All right. Well, look, there's also been a bunch of shit going on online. The statement that I meant before when I said that white people should shut the fuck up about it, I didn't mean don't say anything. I don't mean silence, in a way of like you don't care. I'm saying show support. Go out, go to these marches, go, but the people who seem to be like, this is what sickens me, is like the upper income bracket celebrity compilations of white guilt that's going out right
Right.
now. I don't believe it's helping. I believe it makes you look like a fucking narcissistic jerk off, if you ask me.
It's a lot of pandering.
Yeah, like take that money that the millions of dollars that you're making and put it into the inner cities, then put it into Black Lives Matter. Like, shut the fuck up about it and let the people who really have to carry this fight lead and tell you what needs to be done. Dan, what did you want to say?
My problem with that shit is that it takes the whole point of what people are trying to do and making about yourself, about
Yeah.
do better.
Well, look at Lady Antebellum. From what I know of the situation, the group Lady Antebellum, I don't think anyone said to them to change their name because the word antebellum is in there. Antebellum South, conjures up thoughts of the slave era. I don't see that. I use the word if needed, right? So they changed their name to Lady A. Okay, you think we don't know what the fuck the A stands for? Problem with that is there's already a black artist, a girl who's a singer who's been an artist under the name Lady A. So she pops into she chimes in and says, this is your white privilege that you can just use my name and, just shun me. So you're never going to please a mob. And if you're doing all this pandering and just virtue signaling, you're always going to come up short because there's always going to be someone at some stage, like in this, they didn't know there was a Lady A that already existed.
Wait. But to say come up short, was that some kind of like indirect jab at me and my height?
Listen, I'm just a couple inches taller. So we're in the same boat, you know. We need Dan to get us on rides anyway, man.
That's right.
Yeah, the virtue signal is the craziest because I doubt if there were anyone in the urban community that's really like, yo, Lady Antebellum, that's some racist ass connection. It doesn't. It sounds crazy, and they changed their name, and yet they still offended someone. So give it up. Just fucking don't be a dick. You know what the hell the antebellum in your name stands for. You know the connection. You guys are a southern grass, bluegrass area type of band. So give it a break.
Right. Yeah. Did you, by any chance, Dan? I know you did, but did you catch Dave Chappelle's 846 special that he just did recently?
Yeah. I
What
had
did
a
you think
joke,
of?
but I had a
Well,
joke. But it's
no, go
probably
ahead, say it.
no. I can't say it. I don't want to fucking be. I don't want.
What did you think of it in the overall sense? Because it's certainly he's a guy that I respect immensely, just by the things that he points out and has been pointing out for years and years in his routine and
Yeah.
stuff. And it
Yeah.
definitely wasn't a definitely wasn't a he's a big Chappelle fan. It definitely wasn't a comedy special per se. What'd
Yeah.
you think?
Well, comedians have always somewhat been the heartbeat of society. You know, you think about. I'll go to my point, but you think about shit that Saturday Night Live got away with in the 70s, 80s, 90s, early 2000s. You remember the Joe Piscopo and Eddie Murphy doing "Oh Blue Eyes" and Stevie Wonder. That shit would never fly today.
No.
But you can't laugh today. Apparently, you can't make jokes today.
Right. So is that a shame that it can't exist today, or is it a good thing?
It's a damn shame because that was damn funny.
Yeah,
There's a
that's
difference. There's a difference in comedy and being mean spirited and just being some vile. You know the difference. It's almost like how the Supreme Court said about pornography. What's considered off the. You know it when you see it. So, what's the big difference between Jimmy Fallon and Jimmy Kimmel playing a character and dressing in blackface? There was nothing vile and racist about what they did. It was comedic, no different than the Wayans brothers in the film White Chicks.
Eddie Murphy dressing as Mr. White in the 80s on Saturday Night Live and showing the makeup process and going out. And it was overtly reverse racist because he's like, he goes in with the newspaper to buy a newspaper and the guy's like, no one's looking, just take it. And he's like, and it started to occur to me that white people give each other things for free when black people aren't around.
Right. So
that was one of the funniest skits I've ever seen. It was
the difference when it's comedy, it's not mean spirited. I just saw something yesterday, which I believe is from the '90s. That when Ted Danson and Whoopi Goldberg, they were at a roast. Ted Danson dressed in blackface, some jokes, whatever. I saw
just to preface, they were at a Friars Club roast.
Friars Club roast. There we go.
The membership at Friars Club is supposed to be nothing is off limits.
And
completely.
There were a couple then too, I believe.
Yes,
they were a couple then. Yeah. So I just saw the video where Howard Stern did his take on it with Sherman Hemsley playing the role of Whoopi Goldberg. Now, in this video, there was absolutely nothing funny coming out of Howard Stern's mouth. He just went on a tear, nigger this, nigger that. It just seemed like he took the opportunity to be able to say nigger with impunity. And so now, you know it when you see it. I'm the least PC guy in the world, but I look at that and I'm like, this is disgusting. This is bullshit. And if Jimmy Fallon and Kimmel had to, do their mea culpa, and which was complete bullshit from my point of view, the Wayans brothers never had to. So show some consistency. You can't have certain darlings that are untouchable, but yet you cancel with this whole culture. You cancel the slightest hint and just immediately name it racism. Like, give people credit that, we might be able to still laugh at shit. And I might be able to understand that Jimmy Kimmel, or when Kimmel, when he played in blackface, he's
Karl Malone.
Karl Malone. Come on. That, this is worlds apart from Howard Stern's nigger rant.
Sorry, when you saw Stern do that, did that change your opinion of him to this day?
Oh yeah, because look at Howard said some of the craziest shit in the world over time. I remember early '90s when his show there was a blurb, a little mix up in the television. I think I had to be 14, 15, and I saw like 30 seconds of a porn on his show. Maybe that was his, he did it on, purposely. I don't know. But yeah, I'm not surprised about things coming out of Howard's mouth, but seeing this video, completely different than him having porn chicks in there riding the Sibian and, having them shoot fireworks out their ass and talking crazy shit. This was just vile. There was nothing comedic funny about it at all.
Did you think watching it that he was intending to be hurtful, or he just thought he was being funny and missed the mark?
No, you've seen him where he's funny, where even when he throws a joke out there, it really doesn't go anywhere. And her name, Robin. She's watching on television the skit, and she's playing off of him. I don't think anyone can watch it and say, "Damn." Yeah, I don't. First off, there's nothing funny in it. I don't think anyone would watch it and say, "Yeah, maybe he, missed the mark."
Well,
He just
I do
tear.
have one thing to say is Sherman Hemsley playing Whoopi Goldberg
Right?
is comic gold. I don't care what Howard did. That overrode everything.
Right. With the mustache and the dreadlock braids.
Amazing.
Oh man. Well, look, I mean, I know comedians like Jamie Foxx came to made a bunch of shit.
You're good.
Okay.
Yep.
He made a bunch of comments.
No longer has time.
What's that?
A message popped up saying the video no longer has time.
Oh, it's working for me. We're good.
Yeah, it's working for me, and you're being recorded by both of us. So
gotcha.
And I got my camera down below as well. You didn't know that I snuck in there and did that.
POV.
Anyway, Jamie Foxx came to the aid and said, like, the one thing that I love is, like, you got to give comedians some latitude. You know what I mean? And I've said it many times, even on this show, even back in medieval times, the court jester was there because the king knew the importance of being made fun of. And the court jester was the only one who was allowed to do that with impunity.
Right.
You have to be able, comedians good ones anyway, point out, they hold up the mirror to society, and you laugh because shit is true, even if it's painful a lot of the times. They put it to you in a way that makes you think. So to shut down and cancel comedians, it's one thing with the Me Too movement. It's one thing what you're doing off stage.
Right.
That's not what I'm talking about. But you said it yourself. You know the difference between comedy and something that's just hurtful. You know, what Dave Chappelle did in that special was completely from his heart. I thought it was genius the way he took events that have happened before. He points out history. He points out his own history to make the point that he's making and gets off stage.
Yeah.
You know, so I was very appreciative of that. And it did make me think a little differently about stuff that I thought out in the past.
He had moments where you saw him still get in some digs in a comedic way.
Yeah.
And even the targets of his digs, Don Lemon and Candace Owens, they're like, it's all good. We know how to laugh. You know, two people on opposite ends of the political spectrum, but yet they accept the digs because it's all part of it.
Don Lemon's response, I don't know if you guys saw it. He couldn't have had his tongue further up Dave Chappelle's ass for two reasons. One, because he knows how talented and smart he is, and two, he also knows that his name being attached to Dave Chappelle's isn't a
he
bad
lives
thing
on.
either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then what I say, intellectual consistency. Let's not be hypocrites. You got Megyn Kelly, NBC morning show, and the Halloween edition where they always dress up all the news anchors.
Mm-hmm.
Her mere questioning of whether or not a person can dress in blackface got her fired.
Yeah.
She questioned it. She wasn't dressed up as it. She wasn't thinking about dressing up as it. It was a part of the segment, the conversation that came up, and yet she was canned and called racist. So there has to be some, but this is the cancel culture where her mere questioning of it gets her canceled. But Jimmy Fallon and Kimmel, who actually did it, it's okay. We'll just accept their apology. I don't need either. Like her, she's a fucking journalist. She's supposed to question shit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
they're
Dan and I
comedians. They're
had-
supposed to dress up like that.
Yeah, Dan and I had. So wait, before we get into that, so I shouldn't dress as Sherman Hemsley as Whoopi Goldberg this Halloween.
If Dan goes as Wheezy, you can do it.
I think Dan would make a great Wheezy.
Right?
Guys, I am.
He has his inhaler on.
All right. So only if you go as Mr. Bentley.
I can do that. Yeah.
All right.
I can do
So Dan and I had this discussion too, because we were talking. I'm glad that you brought up journalists, and I have a really strong feeling that if people want shit to really change at this point, you have to go after social media and you have to go after news, 24-hour news cycles. Because I believe that that's when this really started to. Now, I'm not saying that there weren't many worse problems before then, but the misinformation and disinformation and all that, I really believe that that's the fucking cancer, and that the death blow would come from if you could, when we were kids, whether the world was racist or not, you had, at least in my day, you had 3 fucking news channels, you had like a Walter Cronkite, you had accredited journalists that their job was to not be opinionated.
They were not activists.
Now all of these shows are the Don Lemon opinion show. They're not news shows that are on these news cycle channels. So
yeah.
And especially with social media where everybody's like just misinformed, and I'm not talking about government regulation. I'm talking about civic, organizations of people who have socialization fucking degrees, and those kind of things. Like,
I think Killer Mike said it best when CNN headquarters,
I love that guy.
Letters. Yeah, he says, you pump fear all day long. It's, it's karma coming back for you. Individual responsibility is always my go-to. So I don't listen or watch CNN or Fox. I mean, shit comes across different news feeds on social media, and I'll read an article. But here's an example of their pushing of a narrative. Right, any crime you see with the cop, it's immediately stated what the cop's race is, if it's a white cop and the victim is black. But right when this George Floyd situation happened, there were 2 situations at seniors' homes. One where a guy filmed himself beating a 75-something-year-old senior man under his care, and then 3 senior care workers beating and filming the seniors under their care. 2 separate incidents. Now, just the way I said it to you, you wouldn't know the race of these people. But the race of these people were black perpetrators on white seniors. Now, had it been reversed, you would have, the news would have reported it, white racists beat elderly under their care. there's plenty of other articles I come across where the perpetrator is black and the victim is white, and there's no mention of race. Uh, this used to be something that was always mentioned. With the fear mongering of black youth in urban areas, out wilding and out. Okay, but now anytime there's a perpetrator that's white, it's immediately mentioned that the victim, if he's black, it's immediately mentioned. And you reverse it, I don't see the same thing. Mm-hmm. So that's more of pushing a narrative of, white guy out ready to kill black kids at any moment, if he's a cop. Mm-hmm. Reverse it, you don't get the same racial bend.
Yeah, I saw a video the other day on Twitter of a fist fight in the street, and it was a white dude and an Asian guy, and none of us saw how the fight started, but the Asian dude ended up knocking out the white guy, and every comment was, Asian American knocks out white supremacist. He might have been, but if a white guy gets into a fight with a black guy or an Asian guy, it doesn't mean he's a white supremacist. He could be, but who knows? The Asian dude may have spit in his face. Who knows what happened?
Maybe you took my parking spot. I mean, there's no context behind it, but there is that push on the media to have the narrative that
and it's
any white perpetrator, assailant, or whatever in power, there has to be the racial bent. I don't buy into it. Assholes exist all throughout, so you can just be the asshole cop. You don't have to be the racist cop. In this situation in Minnesota, there's nothing at this time that points to a racial motive. So he's just a piece of shit cop who, was power drunk.
Riley, do you think that racism exists heavily in the police force in the U.S.?
I would say no. If we're going to, and I would go off the data of all of the millions and millions of police interactions and what we have from it as far as murders from all ethnic groups, black being on the lower rung versus whites that die at the hands of cops. What's the interaction? I'll say this as a former convict, former thief, a former fucking criminal, and any criminal I know that's worth half of their weight in salt knows a lot of how you're going to be treated by the cops when they come for you is in how you respond. Mm-hmm. So if I pull a pistol, I better expect 50 shots to come my way. If I try to throw hands at the cops, I might get them, but once his boys get there, I better accept that ass whooping that's coming. Mm-hmm. So this situation in Minnesota was not that. So, this stands all by itself. But I know very few criminals that, have taken an ass whooping from a cop without really deserving it. If I give you a foot chase when you catch up to me, I know I got something coming. That's not right legally, ethically, but I understand because we're both part of this same hypocrisy. I'm the bad guy, you're the good guy, and I've made you really work for this one, so I might have it coming. So is there wide racism in America? I would say from my experience, no. Is there racism? Yeah. I have to go off my experience. If we go off of anecdotal stories, we can cherry pick shit all day long. If we go off of, is there systemic racism? Well, let's look at the system you're referring to. We will then have to pick apart and see the different ethnic groups all throughout that system. And you would say, well, the system you're calling racist doesn't have the makeup of what you would want to, see as racist. So I can't buy the systemic racism just as a blanket for every system. The education system. Okay, let's look at the areas it come from. What's in the city council? Who makes up the school boards? Oh shit, it looks like the rainbow. All right, so let's back off the system shit. Maybe there's just some pieces of shits who are making decisions in the school board that are affecting your kids. It doesn't have to be systemic racism attached to it.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you go anywhere in the world, there's a group of people that hate for some reason another group of people, or at least that's the narrative that's told. If you're Israeli, you grow up hating Palestinians. If you're Palestinian, you grow up hating Israelis. If you're Japanese, you hate Koreans. If Koreans hate Japanese. I mean, there has been history there. My wife's Korean. Is it racism because her, not that long ago, because they were invaded by Japan, and is that racism, or Jews and Germans? Is that racism, or is that just this hatred for one another that's taught because of history? Do you know what I mean? So if you take that into consideration and the history of this country and what's transpired between certain races in this country, like, yeah, if I'm walking down the street and Dan's walking down the street, and we know what's in our hearts, and we come across African Americans that want to start a fight because we're white, or vice versa, like we're watching a group, like, Dan and I wouldn't do that, but if we're watching a group it's just about the color of skin, I'm kind of in agreement with you that doesn't happen as much as it's put out in the culture.
Right.
Do you?
Well, the media. We started by saying this because of how
That's
media focuses on the color when it fits a certain narrative.
Right. That's my point, and that's why I say the death blow has to be dealt to the media and to social media, to online interacting, that really has caused the split. And if you have 5% of the people in the world globally that are the real power players, I mean, I know that you're a history buff. How do you keep people in line? You keep them fighting with each other, and you keep the sleight of hand. It's this thing. It's not necessarily this thing. So is it racism, or is it systemic good and evil? Do you know what I mean? Is it systemic evil? Is this a fight of rich and poor, of high class and poor class, or lower class? Or is this a class fight, or is it really a racial thing? I don't know. I don't know anymore. I'm asking the question.
I mean, everyone can agree and get behind hashtag Black Lives Matter. Everyone can get behind it. I was having this conversation with one of my oldest buddies, and my thing is Black Lives Matter all the time in all situations. So I don't just focus on when a black life is lost by a white cop. I focus on Chicago, LA, all these areas where every weekend, specifically Chicago, 10, 15 people are being killed, 40, 50 are being shot. They're black and brown kids. His thing is, but at this time, the situation, the movement is Black lives lost through the hands of corrupt cops. Well, my thing is, we can chew gum and walk at the same time. I want to have a focus on, if Black lives matter, then it matters at all times. That doesn't push his point to the side, which is at the hands of cops, life lost. I get it, but what am I really doing to correct it? I know what's under my control. The group I've been working with for the longest, the Grid Foundation. I know anything beyond the big pictures that are governmental controls or whatever, as far as whatever legal action can come down the pipeline, laws or whatever, that's all aside. At the end of the day, I interact with Todd. He introduced me to his kids. At that moment, I'm the ambassador for anyone that looks like me to them. How I treat my fellow man that I'm dealing with on a daily basis in my immediate family, in my immediate neighborhood, expand that circle at each point. So, that's why I go back to just don't be a dick. Let's start with that. Mm-hmm. And if you got a good moral compass, a lot of the bullshit
kind of goes over your head because to you it's what? I don't get it. That's what I see a lot of people saying, but that's not me. I'm not a. How do A lot of folks, specifically white people, don't really know how to respond because what? That's not me.
I think
All right.
I think with that kind of thing, I think the point that's trying to come across is that if it's not you, it's still your job to call it out when you see it. So if it's your dad or your friend or you see it on the street, don't ignore it anymore. Because I've been in situations where I've ignored people either being super sexist or racist, and just like it's not my business, even though it's people that I know. I kind of want to mind my own business. I think people want that to change more than a
Well, the problem with that is one can go into the white savior role and start looking for shit that ain't there. You
That's
know,
what I'm talking. That's what I'm talking about. That scares the shit out of me about those.
self-righteous fucks who really
Yeah,
believe that they are
and the
fighting this grand cause, and it's like this. At the end of the day, whatever problems that are in the black community are on the black community to fix. Because if we want to look at the number one problem, it's fatherless homes. If we want to look at the real systemic issues in the black community, it's fatherless homes. The stats, the numbers on uh, of the potential of a child interacting with the cops on an adversarial way has increased. High school dropout. This all goes back to things that are dealing with uh, an individual responsibility. From a systemic point of view, racism. Okay, well, I don't know what the fuck's in your mind until you put some action to it. So I can't walk around looking for the boogeyman. I've never lived my life like that, and it just would take up too much energy for me to try to look for a racist bend to everything. Now, without a doubt, if the shit is there, I'll call it out. Call the balls and strikes as they come. But like I just do not see it. Having grown up in LA at the height of the gang wars, uh, at the height of the crazy riots of '92, which were completely different than this rioting that went on now.
Mhm.
There were not whites in the riots in '92 because they were the victims. You know, uh, this was a whole different way of rioting from my view. The white kid, the redheaded kid slamming on my car. What am I not the one you're supposed to be protesting on behalf of? What the fuck are you doing slamming on my car?
Right.
Yeah, as the other kid said to me, people lost what this is all about. Then it turned into a grab bag at that point, tearing up neighborhoods that are in the culture. Supreme. That whole spot got looted. They're in the culture. You guys shop here. This is your store. What the fuck is going on here?
Right. Yeah, a lot of that night that it was happening, and I live really close to where it all was happening. Just we were watching on TV, and my kids were watching stores that they go to, get looted, and my daughter was traumatized by that in the sense of like, wait a second, I
What?
was there the other day. Excuse me, that kind of shit. But from what I noticed, and from what many people, because I have a lot of friends that live in that area, especially by the Grove, where the
Yeah.
Grove got looted and where the protesting had started. That was like the nucleus of the starting point before they started spreading out. I have people that live in those those complexes right there, and they were like
Palazzos.
the palazzos and all that. They're like most of the kids that they saw spray painting shit and spray paint. Other people were smart enough to IG live it so that people were not
Right.
misunderstood by the narrative that the media could write.
Right.
Most of those were young skater type white kids that were
Right.
doing the spray painting, that were putting the BLM everywhere. And we ran a video. Did we run that last week? Did it go in there? We ran a video of this one black woman who's videotaping these white girls putting shit and writing Black Lives Matter, and she's like, just for the record,
This is
don't
them.
do
Yeah.
that. Yeah, I'm sure
She was spray painted a Starbucks. Yeah.
Yeah. I go to that store. I've been to that
Right.
Starbucks several times, and You know, they're like, we don't want your help. Don't do that because they
Yeah.
show my face on the news, and she's fucking right. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, so it was a very weird situation. I don't even know if you could call it rioting. It was just protesting and other shit too, is what it
Anarchy.
was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was pissed that clearly the cops had a stand down order because I've seen how shit goes in riots in prison.
Right.
You know, shock and awe. When the dude banged on my car and I smashed his ass and I hopped out, I saw the first 30, 40 people right there in my immediate vicinity, and they were stunned. You know, had the cops responded to the shit in that fashion, which I know they're capable of, they are well trained, well armed. They had to have had a stand down order. And
Yeah.
what's shitty about that is you allowed this to play out, and the rest of your city was terrorized. There's no other way to put it. I mean, what they should be very lucky about is that this was a millennial thing, and that the Bloods and Crips and Southern Mexican gangs didn't get involved, because then you would have had a lot of victims on your hands at that point. That's what I didn't see in the crowd, and you know, I talk with different folks that I know. This wasn't their fight. This was some young millennial shit, and for the cops to stand down as they did, they really risked the citizens of LA from becoming victimized on a much higher level. You know, the fuckers are going into the Walmart, Walgreens and CVS taking Oxy. You know, who is this for? This has nothing to do. You've lost all moral high ground, and you're tainting the message that universally everyone accepted. You know, the police brutality that led to the death of George Floyd. You just pissed on it the moment you start burning down your neighborhoods.
But don't we think that that's the far minority of these people are I think the majority are good-hearted protesters. Do you agree or disagree?
Well, mob mentality takes over. You know, that was one of the defenses of the guys in '92 riot that beat up, nearly killed
Reginald Denny.
Reginald Denny.
Yeah.
That it's a real psychological phenomenon that you can do things with a mob that you wouldn't ordinarily do in your, you know, clear thinking by yourself. So a lot of folks just got caught up in the rapture, and oh shit, Supreme, let's go get some. But in '92 riots, I didn't go loot. I'm not a thief in that way. You know, my grandfather called me
You're a
and my
classy
cousin.
thief.
Thank you. But no, I really did not see the value in running up in a store and snatching some shit like that. It just seemed different. I knew what the rioting was about. The looting part was something different. Right after the first day, second day, there's peace treaties at the park, and I know guys that are from the gang, so I'm at the park and I'm seeing this shit play out. These are guys I know from football, high school, or whatever, and just, you know, being around the way, boxing gyms or whatever. So I I didn't have to join a gang to know these guys, to be amongst them, because they're who you grew up with. But there was a different objective, uh, because it was something that originated with the gangs, the whole riot, uh, the '92 riot in particular. This here just seemed like an opportunity to do some shopping. You know, there's some legitimate protests that have happened after all of the burning, all of the looting. There's been some legitimate protests, and people that I know that have gone to those where we get to be heard. Okay, I'm all for that. It's all good. But rioting and looting on the back of George's Floyd death is pretty sad in my book.
Let's get back to cancel culture in a sense.
You know we're
Have you?
canceled after this, right?
Oh yeah, we're totally
Yeah, yeah.
canceled.
It's all good. You
Sev-
got some work you need done at your house? Because I need some work.
Um, so have you heard the story of HBO Max pulling Gone with the Wind because of the racial
Yeah.
overtones of it? What's
Yeah.
your take on that? Because I'm very. It's just like I don't
I'm gonna start a hashtag campaign that HBO is racist because they pulled a movie where
That's
the
what I
first
say.
black lady to win an Oscar
Yes,
is in it.
Hattie McDaniel is the first African American woman, not the first African American woman, the first African American. Forget about the woman part to
Yeah,
win an Oscar.
an Oscar.
I didn't know that.
She's 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 also been in like 300 over 300 films. She's also the first African American woman to sing on American radio. And to not to
Think
be
about
that
that.
to be that huge of a conglomeration of a superpower in this business, in show business, and not have people on the team that said, hey guys, before you do this, let's weigh out
Yeah.
all the facts. What we're doing, we get it. Everybody knows what that film is. Everybody knows what time period it's from, that it was made, and what time period the story is about.
Yeah.
And for us to take it off might be seen as weirdly inadvertently racist. And that's what I keep saying to everybody. Like, what jerk off did not raise his hand because he was scared to lose his job and say, guys, I don't know if we should do that.
Are we
Yeah.
thinking this a little bit, guys?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
are you fucking kidding me? Now, look, you want to slap, some kind of disclaimer on films that have racial overtones or sexist overtones, you're going to have like maybe 2 films in the world that
Completely.
don't have that disclaimer.
And
Yeah.
Yeah. I was watching Trading Places the other day. Should they take Trading Places off? He says we're going to give our company to a N-word.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like that's blatant racism.
Blazing,
you know what I mean? Yeah, Blazing Saddles, all these films, I mean, to take one
Right.
of the biggest films of all time
Yeah.
that has great social significance, not because of the content of the subject matter, but because of the people who are in it and the accolades gained and the
Yeah.
steps of
And it
progress made
showed,
forward.
and it profiled an accurate depiction of an era, of a time in American history. So that alone is a reason for it to stay. You add in and everything else that we've already mentioned. It just was. It's reactionary shit. It's Lady Antebellum type of shit, where you think you're making a good play. We're going to be all good because we did this. But
to me, that's another weird, like, when I say white people shut the fuck up, like that's what I mean by that.
I can
like,
get that part. I can get that part. Yeah.
Stop doing shit like that. And
yeah, if I don't want to watch the film, if I don't like it, if I just won't watch it. I mean, I don't go look at Korean art house films because that's just not my kick. So
that's because
so
that's because you hate Koreans. I mean,
exactly right. So now I gotta
that's
go.
why I don't watch
20 of them.
I'm over Koreans,
right?
I
see her standing right behind you now. Yeah, it's
with
just
a pair of chopsticks ready to.
You're done. You're done. Note to the audience: I was not laughing.
Yeah, note to the audience: my wife is Korean and my children are half Korean. My wife is 100%. So
basically, you love half your kids, half of them you love.
Yeah. The Korean half because I actually hate myself. So
there we go. Yeah, it's crazy town at this point, man.
I mean, yeah, but just to single out one thing too, like, and I was talking about it, like I was hearing people throw around the thing, like, well, you can put an advisory before films now, a disclaimer, like this depicts, subjects of racism, like the same way you would put a rated R, violence, this, that you could add racism, sexism, or whatever to the disclaimer of it.
Right.
And all you're going to do is have the same effect that parental advisory explicit.
Right. No one watches that shit anyway.
Yeah, you're just gonna make kids want to see it,
right?
By labeling it as something that could potentially be dangerous, because that's what you're doing. And really, what it is everybody's scared to offend anybody else, and everybody's offended by dude, get a fucking job, like. read some books, like do something that you don't have time to be that offended over every
Well,
little
wait till
fucking
they
thing.
read Huckleberry Finn.
Yeah,
Oh
well,
my!
I mean, look, even that, even back then with the banning of that book, I was like,
Well, I mean, wait till they read that and realize, wait a minute. Did he just say call him nigga Jim? Yeah, that's a
yeah,
character. That's a
mhm,
character that fits in that time.
yeah. But
That's
this
the
trying
language that was used in that era. These
this
characters are accurate to that era.
Period.
right,
Correct.
yeah, the the attempt to erase history is a bad idea.
Well, wait,
Disturbing.
but then now we can talk about the Confederacy statues because you're saying like don't erase history, but I'm all for those coming down. I'm all for all that kind of stuff.
But that's different, and I'll tell you why I think that that's different, because those are things that you know that have existed. The documentation of those things being a thing and then taken down that um, are that blatantly celebrate that thought process is different than a film or a book that was written, literature or whatever. Like a book or a film isn't necessarily a monument to immortalize something, you know.
Well, it
The
kind
sta-
of is though. They kind of are.
Well, I
well,
think the biggest difference
and
is one is in a public space.
mhm.
So I'm not for taking down statues because, in my view, I think that's a regional thing that municipalities in those states should be able to govern for themselves. I don't have a say in Alabama having up uh, Confederate general statutes or whatever because I live in fucking California, right?
Mhm.
With that, it shows an era in American history, even the dark part of American history, where we fought this crazy ass fucking war. And yeah, they were the losing side, but it's still, to me, erasing history. That's
Right,
something that goes,
but if you take those and you take, because you said the magic word is public space. If you take them and not knock them down and demolish them, but you take them and take them out of a public space and put them in a museum where there's a history lesson about the
yeah,
statue, who created it, why it was created, then you can
yeah.
choose to go in and see it.
Well,
But
for
that's
me,
like,
then it's still up to that area, that municipality, that
right,
the people in that community are
right,
the
right.
ones that should be making those decisions. In my view of it, it's too easy for me to sit from the comfort of my Malibu beach home that I'm not at right now and say, Alabama, you racist fucks, you should take down General Lee's. I'm here. Am I ever going to
Right.
Alabama? I don't know. I don't eat crawdads.
Right. But if in the city, if in the middle of Berlin they just put up a huge statue of Hitler, like, Jews would lose their fucking minds all over the world,
But
not just ones who live there.
point too, like
uh,
we're kind of going through it now with the Confederate flag, where people are starting to really, really question as a country if that should be allowed anywhere. And NASCAR has banned it, which is unbelievable that NASCAR did.
yeah.
But Germany did that in what? Not even before 1950. I think they banned anyone owning any Nazi memorabilia or
Mhm.
flying a flag.
Yeah, I'm not for censorship nearly of any kind because once again it falls in line with book burning
Mhm.
that existed. That's part of our American history. It's a dark part of it, because that slippery slope. At some point, a group will find a reason to uh, to speak out against Martin Luther King.
Mhm.
He was quite conservative. He held on to his Christian values. And we've seen of late different groups who take shots at Christianity.
There are people
Uh,
already. There are organizations that are Judas believers that feel that even that's how far back it can go. Like
yeah.
that Judas got a raw deal and you should believe his fucking teachings. There, and this is not me making a joke. This is a real thing. That because I said to Dave one time, I was like, we were watching oh my God, Jesus Christ Superstar film.
Okay.
And I was like, I wonder if there's any like people who are down with the Judas cause. And we looked it up, and sure enough, there are
Whole crew.
people who are like against Jesus and think that Judas is the guy that you should be bowing down to. So like it goes back that far.
Whatever happened to Judas? How long did he live?
Yeah, I think didn't he get hung?
Or
Very
he was
shortly.
hung. He
Yeah,
was
that's what I'm
hung or
saying.
he got hung.
No, he was hung. He
No,
was both. No, both. He's both. Thus the fear part. So, look, anybody who has an opinion about anything or says anything or speaks out anything, especially in a public forum that has national or global recognition, there's going to be someone to find fault with it. That's the
At
risk
some
that
point,
you take.
yeah.
Yeah, that's the risk that you take. I mean,
Yeah.
people are going to watch this
just
show and think these
yeah,
three
we're
guys are
fucked.
assholes. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll see you on the construction crew next week.
Yeah.
I'm really I take a back seat to immediately go into ban to remove certain things in history. Have it. I'm an author. At one point, maybe something I've written about may become uh, tawdry, out of vogue for society, and do we burn my book now? I don't
Are
know
you
if you
gonna get me too'd for jerking off in front of that female guard?
exactly right, but remember, she asked for it.
That's right.
She made the request.
She was asking for it.
She was asking for
She was asking. But it's
you
true.
can't.
Hey, and in fact, can you please refresh everybody's memory the title of your book, of your last book that just came out?
What is Real by Riley
Real?
Perez.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, go get it. I got it, and I have, by the way, just not bragging here, but I have a signed copy, personalized to me, and I jerked off at least 6 times before I put it down.
Dan, can you top that?
Yes, he jerked off with my mouth.
But the no lips just chafe, man.
Sorry, I'm not perfect.
Just raw.
Shit.
What else we got, Dan?
Well, I come from a mildly racist family. I mean, yes. Boston. Outside of Boston, Boston is historically a pretty racist spot. But I'm the only person. That's not true. The majority of my family don't look like me, don't think the way I do, and don't.
They have full lips. That's what he means when he says they don't look like me.
Just tell me that the cousin who is what's the proper word I'm looking for, Todd? You know which cousin I'm talking about of Dan's. The one that I believe has Down syndrome.
Yes.
Just tell me she's.
Let's put it this way: he didn't get the lips from her.
God damn it, dudes!
All right, go ahead.
I there's a member of my family that is constantly forwarding me these like anti-immigrant email chains.
Okay.
Like, how come I have to show my ID to get cough syrup, but immigrants don't have to show their ID when they're all this bullshit, like twisted facts, and I'm sick of them. So I replied back to the email with a bunch of pictures of gay porn. And I said, since you're showing me shit I don't want to see, I'm going to return the favor, and here you go. And I've gotten none since then. So I recommend everyone try this out.
Well, he's still looking at the porn. That's why he's a little busy right now.
He hasn't found a moment to reply yet.
Right.
He goes to reply. He goes to reply, and then he sees it. And he's like, "Oh man, one more.
This is a good one.
To shoot his racist cum all over his phone."
Boston.
You should send him holiday greeting cards of Todd's ethnically ambiguous family, and
they would not be happy. But I was going to ask you, like being from New York, Boston and New York have similarities as well. Did you grow up with semi-racist family? Because you're even a little bit
100%.
Okay.
100%.
Majority?
No, not majority in the immediate family, but one side wasn't, and
Now
one
check
side
this out,
was.
Todd. Would you say racist because language they use or actual acts?
Both.
Both for me too.
All right, check this out. Same with me. Go into any barbershop in any urban city and you'll hear some shit and you'll say, damn, those fuckers are racist. So this is not a white thing. This is a fucking human thing. We all have likes and dislikes, biases and all, you know. So you go into certain areas and what's the old saying, the most segregated place in America, this is a saying from the 50s or 60s, is the church on Sunday. You go to a black church, you see one set of teachings going on, pulling from the same Bible, but you have two different audiences. Go into a black barbershop and see the conversations going on. Go into a Dominican barbershop, or Puerto Rican barbershop, and you'll hear conversations. And this is not unique to white America.
No.
That people dislike or have biases or preconceived notions of folks based on their interaction or just what they heard. So I know I've heard plenty of times those white motherfuckers, those stupid ass crackers, how dare them down cracker. That's the beauty of Saturday Night Live with the eras where they were able to throw around the words back and forth to pick it was proper for the time period. You are black and I'm white. You are blind as a bat and I have sight.
You are blind as a bat and I have sight. Side by side, you are my amigo. Negro, let's not fight.
This is the best way of integrating was through comedy in my playbook. So I know how to poke fun.
To get it out in the open and to laugh about it. But look, I'm someone who, when I'm angry, no, I'm not going to throw around racist terms just because I'm an adult. I'm in an interracial marriage. I'm like, I learned my lesson kind of, so to speak, just on maturity or whatever. But I certainly go to an insecurity that someone might have when I'm speaking about them. That fat motherfucker, or you know what I mean? Like it just happens. It's not even about race. It's not that I hate a certain group of people.
You're not fat phobic.
I hate all people. So look at this crackhead motherfucker because they're too skinny, or you know what I mean? Like, so when my anger comes up, that's something that I do notice about myself that I do have to curtail or think about. Where's that coming from? Now the thing is I'm not doing it to the person either. I'm doing it in my head. Right. Do you know what I mean? And
self-editing.
And so like everybody has it in them at some point, I think.
Yeah.
And whether to cleanse yourself of it or
that's the lie I believe that's been perpetrated, and those with white guilt believe they have to atone for. What white America has been blamed for as being racist in thought, it exists on the other side as well. That's why, to me, it's what's one's actions.
But it exists on both sides, but for the most part, white people have more power in dictating how society works. So black people can be racist all they want. Nothing's going to change. If white people as a whole are more racist, they can change all of society and change who gets jobs and change who lives where and who gets elected. So
I don't see. I mean, you would have to let's go city by city, state government. Let's go, because there are black, brown, and yellow people, white people all throughout. So I just can't. I would I would have to believe myself to be inferior to you to say that you have control over me or that you are some grand master that's able to manipulate the system. You have the same access as I do.
See, I think I have more. I really feel like white people do have more opportunities when it comes to finding jobs. I have a black friend who is applied for jobs multiple times, and she would put African American on the fucking application. Right. And when she stopped putting a color in there, she started getting more callbacks for jobs. And that's one example. I understand that, but that's also in LA where there's a lot more culture than a lot of cities too. So I do think it's a problem. I do think white people wield more power.
So what are you willing to do about that?
Education. I think like you were
No. I think I'm going to be taking over your microphone going forward. Just let's balance out this whole white guilt you have.
I don't have
Yeah, because I have none.
have it. I am thrilled to have been born a white dude.
Okay.
I'm not apologizing for anything, but I don't have white guilt, but I do believe that white people wield more power in the country as a whole.
Did you go to the Run DMC concert in 1987?
I was
not thrilled to be born a white dude at that show.
I mean, do you guys?
Pick an era.
You disagree? You disagree that white people don't have more power in the country?
I disagree. I think individuals of all creeds have equality of opportunity is one thing. Equality of outcome is a separate issue. That's why I'm seeking equality of access. And
that's what I was.
I've had more opportunities. Yeah, I've had more opportunities than I would say about 90% of white America that I've pissed on myself. So I'm the last one to say, "Oh, poor me." It just doesn't vibe for me. It's not my reality.
Mm-hmm. That's what I was going to say, Dan. As I think what he just said is maybe, and I'm putting words in your mouth, so just stop me if I'm wrong. I think that that's maybe more of what the angle that you're trying to talk about is that when you're as a kid in an area where you grow up in, you might have more availability to access. Your school might be a better school because of where you grow up in a white neighborhood. You might have those kind of things of established people ahead of you that can help you along the way. But what you're saying also, Riley, is like fatherless homes or single parent homes and all that it's stacked a little bit maybe against the access, I think is what you're trying to say, Dan.
Exactly. Yeah. And the fatherless thing was a very good point, and I actually agree with that completely. Is fatherless homes
across ethnic lines. This isn't just a black thing, but
yeah.
But when you look at in the 1960s and 70s, where there was barely 20% of the black homes were fatherless, to where now that is complete reverse. Upward of 70% of the black homes are fatherless. You got to look at issues like that and say maybe there is something to this.
Why do you think those homes are fatherless though? What makes those homes?
Well, a big part of it is the welfare state. You throw in the drug craze of the 70s, 80s. You got a whole nother issue. What comes from that? More crime, more incarceration, longer periods in prison.
But doesn't
motivation
that start from racism? If you go back that far, doesn't that where this?
Well, murder's always been illegal. Robbery's always been illegal. In all of the crimes I've committed, I've yet to have a white guy just come to me in the hood and throw me a pistol and say, can you go rob that bank for me?
Right.
Personal responsibility. I mean, if I would be a hypocritical fool if I tried to pawn off my actions on someone else.
Fair enough. Okay.
All right. What else, Dan? What else do we have going on besides your lipless white guilt? That's definitely going in the tagline. Riley, Rare Form Radio, Riley Perez. Dan's lipless white guilt.
I can hate you both, and I love you both. At the
It's okay. We'll all three be in the unemployment lines together.
Yeah.
Let
me ask you.
Me and Todd will get a job first, by the way. What?
I was gonna say, I think you've watched it. I don't know if you have. Have you watched the Epstein doc?
Yes.
I have not.
Unbelievable.
It's good. Yeah, it's fucking
so fucking hot.
What did you think, Dan?
I thought it was
that you want to talk about white privilege,
right?
Christ, yeah,
financial privilege.
I mean,
yeah,
there's a good chance that he's one of the worst people that's ever come up in America.
Yeah, and let me tell you something. There was a few other of the worst people that ever came up in America that are still up in America that we will never get the chance to find out about because whoever killed him, because I don't believe
his secrets went with him.
Yeah, and I don't believe he took his secrets with him. I believe someone got rid of those
26 trips on Lolita Express. I'm sure there were a lot of moments that are unaccounted for.
Oh yeah,
Clinton.
We're talking about Bill Clinton's.
Yeah.
Rights.
Yeah.
He also, another person on those flights that I have secondhand info from was possibly the sitting president of the United States of America.
Yeah.
That he rode on it once from Florida up to New York.
He went to the island apparently.
Went to the island.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, but they were fucking neighbors, and he would be at Mar-a-Lago, and he would hang out with them, and he made those fucking stupid statements that I'm sure he hates now about how he likes likes him a little on the young side,
But apparently in the early 2000s he kicked Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago, out of the private club.
Oh really?
Because of shit that was going on. Yeah. So they that last photo they have together where they're at some event with chicks in bikinis.
Yeah.
I don't think it was a Miss America competition, but just something booby girl competition. I think after that he was made aware of something, but the report is that the public report is that Epstein was kicked out of his clubs. That was their last interaction.
What are your guys' thoughts on that group, Anonymous? Any thoughts?
No.
I
don't want them to hack into my shit. I don't want them to hack into my shit.
The point is that they recently released 4 pages of court paperwork, and one of these court documents talked about Epstein and Trump fighting over taking the virginity of a 13-year-old girl, and talking about Trump raping this girl and beating the shit out of her and paying a settlement so it stayed quiet. But Anonymous just released these documents.
How long ago was that?
2 weeks ago?
Yeah, because I heard rumblings of it, but I didn't know exactly what it was about.
If you read it, the transcripts are it's makes you sick and hard. It's like a tough thing to deal with.
Who knows?
I can count on Dan for a good one.
Let me ask you this. If he had lived, Jeffrey Epstein, do you think that there might have been a possibility of him opening a nightclub for underage women calling it Epstein Bar?
Oh, Jesus. I know that's the reason you asked this question 10 minutes ago, was to get to this punchline.
It was.
Look if we weren't canceled before, we're canceled after this one.
The whole time that I was watching it, my wife was like half watching it. She couldn't really watch it. She's like playing video games on her phone, whatever. And I kept saying that joke to her like every 4 minutes, to the point where she just had to leave.
Yep.
And go to another room.
Yeah, he's quite the guy.
It's called Filthy Rich, by the way. If anyone, people
Filthy Rich,
for documentary recommendations, and
it's on Netflix. They're one of your sponsors,
Netflix.
right?
Yeah. It's four episodes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's fucked up.
Personally, I think it could have been an hour and a half. Would have been fine, but it's 4 episodes.
They drag it out.
We have a question for Riley that someone sent in.
Oh shit!
It kind of goes back to what we've been talking about, but something that a lot of people have been talking about with what's been going on is that when they were like Black parents and Mexican parents teaching their kids from a young age how to deal with the police if you're pulled over. And people want to know, were you taught that as a kid when you were a young man?
I was taught way more than that. I mean, first off, I was taught what your rights are, because you have a civic duty to let your kids know what their rights are. But having grown up in the '80s of LA, I wasn't allowed to wear Raiders paraphernalia or Jordan shoes because kids on the streets were getting jacked for it.
Yeah, that happened in New York too. Not for
Yeah,
Raiders gear, but
yeah.
stolen sneakers and
Well,
shit.
Raiders gear was part of the uniform of gangs. So not only was I told about how to act in society, as any good parent would teach their kid, uh, including how you engage with officers, uh, was in what I could wear, even outside of school time. So I don't think that's a negative thing to say. When if you get pulled over by the cops, be sure you give them your license and don't act like an ass. I think a parent's supposed to tell their kid that.
Right. Right.
Why invite issues?
Right.
Yeah. The lesson is that's not the time nor place to plead your case. Right
Completely.
there when you're that
Yeah.
day will come, that time will come, but
Yeah, just
right
I mean, it's a great opportunity. I learned about what the Fourth Amendment is in this conversation, the Fifth Amendment in this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't see that as a negative. Some folks I've heard that statement, or I shouldn't have to tell my kid how to act towards the cops so he doesn't get killed. Yes, that's your duty to
yeah,
tell your kids how to act.
I have children. That is exactly what you're supposed to do. Is you teach
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
My
Don't go in that neighborhood there because this is what goes on over there. You're
Right.
supposed to teach your kids right from wrong and proper behavior when out in society.
Yeah, there was an unfortunate incident at one of the kids' schools, and someone took their life, and they both knew this person. So I had to explain to them. Do I sit there and I shouldn't have to explain this shit to my kids? No, it's scary, and you don't really want to have them know about that kind of shit, but you have to explain it to them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
A debriefing.
Yeah, I shouldn't have to tell my kids this. No, you should actually want to tell them everything about everything. Because I'm very upfront with my kids.
Have you told them about Epstein yet?
No, but just I have told them about the financial plan for Epstein Bar.
See if they want to put the bar mitzvah money in.
I have told
now.
my son about it, and I've told my daughter came in while I was watching it, and I paused, and she's like, "What are you watching?" And I'm like, "This thing about a bad guy who did fucking horrible things to underage girls," and I left it at that. When she knows the case, I'll explain it to her,
Right.
But
age appropriate, right?
Yeah, age appropriate, exactly. But I don't lie and I'm watching the World Series. Like I don't do that shit to my kids, and I tell them right up front too. Especially with my daughter, just because she's younger, I tell her like, not appropriate now. This is what it is, but it's not appropriate. And when you're ready, we'll talk about it. You know what I mean?
Get to put the dad foot down, huh?
We'll do a couple of voicemails and get out of here.
Certainly.
Sure.
All right. Cool.
You have reached the voicemail box of
Rare Form Radio. Please leave a message after the tone.
All right. This one's for you, Todd, I believe.
Hi, Rare Form Radio. This is Steve from Pittsburgh. I got a question for Todd. I won't ask you what you do for a living because last time you told me to go fuck myself. Or no, you told me it was none of my fucking business. My question for you, I've been rewatching The Sopranos, and I heard you mention that you've watched it completely all the way through a couple times. My question is top 3 Tony Soprano mistresses. And also, Dan, yesterday was the 50th anniversary of Doc Ellis pitching a no-hitter against the Padres after dropping acid. I wanted to see if you have any sports memorabilia from him, a bat, or at least maybe a Clemente bat. Love the show. See you guys later.
Dan, I have his baseball card if you're interested in it.
Doc Ellis?
Yes.
That's pretty awesome.
Nice.
Yep. That is one of the best YouTube finds. So anyone who's listening,
Yeah, it's great.
Doc Ellis throws no-hitter on acid. Someone made a cartoon of him telling the story. It's fucking great. I do not have a bat. I do not have a Clemente bat, but I've held one and it's enormous. Todd, Sopranos.
What was his question?
Top three.
Three mistresses.
Oh, mistresses. Oh God, I gotta think. Her name. Definitely. His main one in the first bunch of seasons, Irina, the Russian chick. Yeah, she. I thought she played as an actor. I thought she played it great. And it was the most intense one out of all of them, and I thought she was hot. Then, I don't know if this would be a mistress. I guess it's not, because I don't think he ever. I think the only sex scene with her was a fantasy sex scene. But the mob boss in Italy, that there's a woman running the mob when he go with the episode where they go to Italy. But that's not a mistress, though. He never bagged her.
How many did he have?
Gloria. He had tons.
Okay.
Gloria was great. Gloria Trillo was great. The one who hangs herself, kills herself.
I haven't seen
that. Was
in the series.
She was great because oh my God, I can't believe I can't remember the name of the actress.
What about just the therapist? They had an affair, emotional.
Well, they did that. I guess that would be. He really pushed for it, and she almost went for it when she got attacked one time and felt
right.
Anyway, Gloria. I can't believe I'm blanking on the actress's name. Look up who played her, Dan. Gloria Trillo.
You have a phone in your hand, dude. Fucking, no, I'm not your goddamn assistant.
He's looking at that email with the porn you sent to your cousin, so he's busy.
Yeah.
Have Riley do it. He's brown. He works for us.
All right, wait. I'll remember her name in a second. But that was one of the greatest ones because it was so volatile, and he really was in a bind with that one. She threatened to tell his kids and go to college and tell his daughter, and it got that was great drama. And then the other one that I loved too was the cousin of Irina with Svetlana with the one leg.
Yeah.
The one who had the one leg. But it's gonna fucking drive me crazy that I can't remember her name.
Wasn't the one leg girl? Wasn't she a stripper also, or prostitute?
No, she was the cousin of Irina.
He took a liking to her because of the one leg, right?
Yeah, because he has a whole fight with his wife because she has one leg. She comes from a shitty part of Russia, and she still fights and makes it, doesn't depend upon a man or whatever. And it's a quality that his wife says, so I don't have to fight for anything. And he's like, no, I give you everything. Like, that's the whole argument between them two. But
Todd, Annabelle Sciorra.
Annabelle Sciorra. Okay, Annabelle Sciorra. So I would say those were my top three.
Okay.
But the way Riley looks without his shirt on, if he was on The Sopranos, I would throw him number one.
Todd,
bada bing.
Todd, have you noticed from the moment we started doing this, the way Riley's posed, he's got a real Wood vibe?
Yeah, he does. He's Wood. Yeah.
The posture.
Do you know who Wood is, Riley?
No, I thought he meant something else. He said Wood vibe.
Yeah, he does. He says a Wood vibe, but the Wood vibe is Wood is the gentleman that became the text meme of the coronavirus. The guy with the huge, the guy was.
Oh, word! Yeah. I'm honored.
You got the Wood lean.
His name was Wood, huh?
Wood.
Yeah. Oh wow! Rest R.I.P. Wood.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. We got one more here.
Hey guys, questions for everybody. What was your first tattoo? And yes, Todd, I'm a terrible whisperer.
He always talks like this. He can't change the intonation of his voice.
Right. Come here, I gotta tell you a secret. What was your first tattoo?
That was so fucking loud. What was yours, guys? Mine was an American flag right here on my wrist because I'm a racist.
Hail Columbia.
He's got the Confederate flag above his ass.
God.
Bars and stars. My first one, Juvenile Hall, Mi Vida Loca, the 3 dots. Yeah, they're coming up on 30 years old right now.
Damn. Yep.
Yeah.
How old were you?
I had to be 13.
Okay.
Yeah. I was this shit for a while. And I'm surprised it never faded away. It was some good ink.
Do you remember the name of the person that did it?
The homie Wood.
With his cock.
With his cock. He dipped it in ink.
The dots are this big. They faded to that.
Fucking Wood. It was just like one big ass birthmark.
Actually, you were white until Wood put his dick on you. Todd, what's yours?
Mine is a little tiny symbol that was on my ankle, the first one.
That's precious.
Yeah, it was a little cute fucking thing. And then I just went crazy.
What is it?
It's like a little Chinese symbol. It probably means number 4 special or something, or egg drop soup.
Wait a minute. What did you think it meant when you got it?
It was like Warrior. Good luck or something. Like I went with someone, I wasn't going to get a tattoo, and they were getting something. And I was like, all right, I'll do that. Good luck
on your ankle,
or whatever. Yeah.
So that's you've made up for it since, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. So that was the. Actually, it wasn't just that. It was also like a
dick
thing.
We got a dick to go with the number 4 special.
Oh no! I'd rather have no lips than a fucking ankle tattoo.
An anklet.
Oh. You can't even see it anymore.
I didn't know I was doing a show with LGBT. Here we go.
No, I can't
even see it anymore because of all the shit that I have.
Does it connect to the tramp stamp?
Yeah.
Property of Ivan. Oh shit.
What was the last one you got? The most recent, Dan?
I don't know.
General Lee on your chest.
God damn it, no. I think it was the inhaler. Ain't easy being wheezy. That was it. That was a Todd suggestion too, which is my favorite.
That's a good one.
Do I wait?
There you go.
I'm trying to get the Riley.
Good.
It's pretty. You got the lean. I can't see him anymore. Where'd he go?
You don't see Todd?
Nah.
Oh, I do. He looks good, man.
Okay. Oh shit. Fuck, it's bright in there, man. Turn that light down.
You might want to send this to your cousin.
All right.
A white and a Cuban gay guys.
It's not gonna.
I'm just holding the video camera. I'm not really part of the production.
You're guilty by association.
Right.
Anyone who's listening to this on the iTunes or SoundCloud, you can see this on YouTube as well. Search Rareform Radio. You can see Todd and Riley with their goddamn shirts off.
Yeah, we're cutting this part out.
Oh yeah, well, this is over. But I'm shirtless the whole way through though.
And if you're listening right now, they're both jerking off, and it is fantastic.
Should I?
Alternating arms.
Oh, we're falling apart here.
A feminine vibe.
I've never seen your hair that long before. It's wild.
Yeah, you have. It's been longer than this.
Has it?
This is Corona hair.
You look like Doc Brown.
I haven't gotten a haircut since before quarantine.
Wow.
Just greasy.
I look like one of those erasers.
Or a troll. You look like Don King. Todd King.
That means he's in blackface.
Uh-oh, that's not good. That's all right.
All right, let's wrap it up.
Cool. Riley, thank you very much.
Thank you, Riley.
Hey, thank you guys.
Good.
And to any potential employer in the future, if that looks upon this, should we apologize ahead of time?
ride it out. We're gonna ride it.
Just write it out.
There's one word that prefaces this show: comedy show.
Yeah.
This is supposed to be a comedic show.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, thank you for joining us. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
Riley. And
Thank you.
We will see you very soon.
Absolutely.
This is Lola, and I'm here to tell the world to stop being such pussies and listen to Rare Form Radio.